So, good morning. This is from my Foundation, and we are going to discuss today's Indian Express newspaper of 23rd March 2019. As you could see, this is an e-paper which talks about the government boycotts the Pakistan National Day. It's related with the Pakistan National Day. As we move on, we don't have something important here, and here too it's more related with the valleys. It's related with the politics, so we won't discuss it. It's Mr. Gadkari's opinion, so it's all related with the politics, so it's not important with the IES point of view. So here is the word news. It's talk about the Britain's Brexit. So if would have a deal or no deal. So it's nothing related. Still there is no consensus regarding they will go for Brexit or not. Second news, it says that Trump accepts the Israel sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Golan Heights, we should know where Golan Heights is. It's important. It has been asked in previous years IES PT examinations where is the exact location of Golan Heights. As you could see, it's surrounded with the Syria, Lebanon, Israel and Jordan. So you should know its location. So that's why it is important. Golan Heights is known for the conflicts, and the other says US says Islamic State has lost all its territories in Syria. So they are these days US armies are taking back or leaving the countries from every country back to their home states, as if from Afghanistan or Israel. So that's more important because US army troops are going back to their countries. It's a case study which says Bible to say Christianity not peaceful. It's not important. So that's all important news in this. Most importantly would be of this Golan Heights. It's related with the health, and most probably the health if you have some kind of disease or to study and what's role into your life, so it's not that important. Okay, as we move on, this is related with the movies and stories. That's also not important. These are the books. And now we have come to editorial page. Of course this is important. As we could see, the main article talks about Chowkidars. So BJP these days in its election manifesto they talk about everyone is going to be a Chowkidar. So let's discuss more of this. So if you could see this article, this one, मैं नहीं चौकीदार, it talks about which this author talks about says that Modi's economic policy is not up to the mark as he seeks. It enhances the gaps of rich and poor. Probably he uses the term chowkidar and sahukars instead of rich and poor. So he also says that it talks about the caste or class character. There is no scope of human dignity and self-respect, as he quotes certain examples in which he criticizes the Modi's economic policies, because Modi's policies talks about the people who got high degrees in education, they are still unemployed, and the government is advising them to sell the pakoras. So he even quote the example of Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy here, which talks about it's in Andhra Pradesh. He introduced the total college university fee reimbursement scheme in 2004, where every children's of every corner of chowkidars and chaiwalas being became engineers and got high-end jobs in industries. So that kind of schemes are not being supported by in the Modi government. So he also talks about that chowkidar is a protector of rich man and wealth, but it is the rich man never allows any chowkidar to become rich. It is quite a bit anti-ethical, if we talk about, because he criticizes, he have some evidence that shows that the farmers in India have become chowkidars of urban rich, but not industrialist has become chowkidar. It is talks about no self-respect and no human dignity in the era of Modi. Chowkidar economy suffered too much that the quality school and college of education, particularly English medium, became a distant commodity for them. So that's all in this editorial article. It doesn't talk, it's all in all the 3 or 4 points he's been criticizing by quoting certain examples that if you see here, you could see that OBC class chaiwala, one would think that designation has had a transformative effect on the Indian political debate. After all, when Congress intellectual Manish Shankar publicly insulted Modi with that jibe, insulted remark, he means he became a hero. So he talks about all those criticism. It's nothing important. So second, if you go from here, it talks about, this article seems to be more important because it's talk about the surveys, the periodic labor force surveys. As you could see, it talks about that the sum of person in the employment has fallen from 42 crores to 37.3 crores from 2011-12 to 2017-18. The total number of employed person has actually registered a decline and ignorance to take up the casual labor work. So workforce is fallen from 42 crore to 37.3 crores. It cites an example why it's happening. It might be just because the people are more educated, so they less go for such kind of jobs, of labor class jobs. So this might be the reason he talks about, but it's not sure. It is a kind of good, but it is indeed good, but it's not a bad thing. But if you see here, who are at least 15-year-old, the working age population includes all the individuals. He's calculating the surveys on base of at least 15 years of age. That definitely too young for the job market, but still they are having a survey on these who are above 15. So Labor Bureau's data shows that average annual growth during the last 4 years is just 4.5% to the nominal terms and 0.5% in the real terms after netting out inflation. Let's talk about labor participation rate, the proportion of working age population either employed or active seeking jobs, rising unemployment rate, proportion of labor force that is unemployed. These are the surveys that been done by NSSO. So it is a kind of correlation between jobs and incomes. With these kind of surveys, there is a correlation of jobs and incomes. If you have provide jobs, there will be income gonna be generated. So if you do not provide job and people get unemployed, there is least chances of economy to be smooth, or it actually declines the fertility with the people's potential, in which you can reap a demographic dividend. So it's a big question mark about government needs to acknowledge this kind of situations. So let's move on. And it's a new red line. This is another article which talks about election commission's ethics on social media these days. There is article 1 section 126 of Representation of People's Act, and internet. Actually, there are two agencies: Election Commission and the Internet and Mobile Association of India. These are the two bodies which are these days are actively seeking whatever going on due to election campaign, because everyone ignores in this environment what's happening around social media. We do not consider it. So there should be a valid legal orders to be acknowledged and processed within 3 hours of violation if reported under section 126 of RPA Act. So that's need to be considered, right? This is to potential violation of section 126. They want to build certain mechanism that's called reporting mechanism. If they do not follow the guidelines of election commissions, there should be strict action needs to be taken in this case. So that's what its main agenda is. So and then the important thing is who is the CEC right now is Sunil Arora, and that's need to be remembered. Okay, and here it is this name Karen Keskula Uhanbak. She got Nobel Peace Prize for maths, and she is talking about gender equality, where the people in her age. He wrote an article in 1996, and in her age they were not, the women, especially women and girls, not allowed to work. So that's important. She gave the concept of Gauss theory. This is a major achievement in which it finds the two fundamental forces of nature, electromagnetism and weak nuclear force, having correlations. She talks about that's what it is, Gauss theory. So if you need to remember these things in order to write in an essay, especially if you are writing an essay about gender equality. So it's important. And now if we move on, let the ball be in the court. Withdrawal of judiciary from the adjudication of religious. This article is also important because here then author talks about gender equality, in which these days courts are interfering into the religious world. Court interferes and talks about Article 25, where the people interfere, courts, especially court, interfere in the religious freedom which is guaranteed in Article 25, because these days courts have put the decisions regarding Talaq and Sabrimala incident, where courts allowed and interfere in the religious matter. But here an author says that it is good that courts should interfere, because it's in consonance with the constitutions. They bring about religious matter, so it's all about that. So it will fraught, author says, it will be fraught with the grave consequences. It will leave the field wide open for the patriarchal clergy to take over if the court didn't interfere. So it's very important that the patriarchal clergy to be left aside, because they says that the extreme kind of fanaticism they bring and it's not with gender equality, especially it's not in favor of gender equality. So here article section 15 1 and 2, which also talks about liberal interpretation of religious rights, talks about. And the last one is